Welcome to the Swinburne Professional Staff Network podcast, the podcast professionals with Kristy and Ash, made by professional staff for all Swinburne staff.
Well, hello there. My name is Kristy and I'm one half of this podcasting duo. And please let me welcome to the mic my partner in pod, the wonderful, the kind, and the best boss ever, Ash Carden.
Hi, Kristy. I can't not laugh with your brilliant introduction that always paints me in this brilliant light that may or may not be true, but that's okay. I'll take it.
True. Hello, Ash. How are you? And what's news?
Hello, I am good. I am just been bragging to you before we started about my new super fancy, amazing, high-tech microphone for podcasting that was purchased from Aldi special buys when the special buys were in fact on special. So I'm super excited for this new microphone and generally excited about Aldi because who isn't? How are
Love
you?
it. I'm good, thank you, Ash. And you are coming in nice and clear. So loving your new microphone. Is it one that's attached to the desk or is it like a standalone on a little stand?
It's on its own little stand and just sits on the desk with me, and it's USB. So it's not like some big stand that comes out over my head. The reason being, apart from because I found this one at Aldi and it's a nice little stand, but also if I had one of those big springy contraption, actually high tech, the likelihood of me either toppling my monitor and computer and breaking the whole system when setting it up instead of reading the instructions, I feel like a lot of people have that in common. The likelihood of that is high. The second likelihood is that I will hit my head on it in meetings when I'm working remotely. So for those two reasons, I wanted one that was very easy to move around.
Unreal. Well, you sound amazing, and I can't wait to see your mic because your camera's off at the moment, but that's cool. Ash, how about a quick recap on our last podcast with Nancy Collins, the COO of Swinburne? It was another awesome episode, and I have to say we had like a lot of downloads. The internet did melt down again. Swinburne had to crank up the backup server because we've had a lot of downloads, and we just did a bit of a calculation on all our stats on all our past episodes. And get this, Ash, we have just hit over 2,100 downloads, and we've only done 14 episodes. So that's an average of around about 150 per episode. I'm so thrilled. I'm giving myself a round of applause, and you too.
You should give yourself a round of applause. I'm so happy about it, and still in awe, really, and quite humbled, or sometimes you do have someone every so often, someone goes past you or you're at a meeting or introducing yourself and they work in a different area and they're like, yeah, I've listened to your podcast.
Yeah, it's awesome, of course, isn't it?
The first reaction is, that's the second reaction. The first reaction is, oh my gosh, it's like that one of embarrassment. Also, it's almost like, when you see your parents' friends, it's the same as, I remember you when you were. It's just that first instinct is so ingrained. It's like, and then it's also because that's an internal reaction, and then we have the external reaction.
It's funny, isn't it, Ash? Because I do get that as well. Oh, you do that podcast thing. Yeah, I do that thing. Yeah. So, but it is really satisfying to know that Swinburne staff are listening to it and enjoying it, and you know what, getting a bit of a giggle too. Absolutely. So it got me thinking, Ash. I went back to one of the first and second episodes and I looked at our show notes and some of the dot points that we used to talk about. And then we were all working at home at that time because the podcast started during COVID. And we used to discuss my neighbour Noel. And we were talking about lockdowns, and
Noel, who we're also talking bike helmet inside all the time.
He did. He loves cycling, that guy. God bless him. And then, we're talking about getting back to the office again and what that was going to be like, reconnecting face to face. So we had some good content back then, but, we've moved on and we are now back in the office.
We are. We had great content. We still, last podcast, we had Nancy Collins, our COO, and I thought she really enthusiastically responded to come onto the podcast. She came in, she was really open, and I just thought that was a really good episode. So I was really chuffed.
It was. Yeah, so you should be.
Thank you again,
really
Nancy,
good.
if you're listening.
Yeah, no, she is. Hi, Nancy. Why don't you tell us about some exciting news, Ash?
Apart from my awesome Aldi microphone.
Yeah, apart from your awesome Aldi mic.
So, well, I won't be able to use my awesome Aldi mic for this, but one of our awesome Swinburne students has approached us. So one of our media and comms students is interviewing us on podcasting questions. She is looking at, as part of her studies, how podcasting has grown since lockdowns in her degree, and it's really amazing that she reached out and she wanted to interview us. So that, again, like with the downloads, it was really humbling. And I may have said it before on this podcast, I say it all the time around the office, I love working with our students. This is not me blowing smoke. I'm already only talking to Swinburne staff. So I think we all agree that when we're working with students on projects, when I've worked with students on systems or in their capstone units or anything that they've done, it is always such an amazing experience. So
yeah, and I feel kind of really honoured that she reached out to us, and super excited to be chatting with Vanessa in the next couple of weeks. So we'll share that when that comes out, because it's being recorded. So why don't we quit the jibber jabber, Ash? Let's get our guest out of the green room before she eats all the M&Ms and drinks all the green tea. So how about you introduce our special guest for today?
I will. At some point, I want to drill down why we've got M&Ms and green tea as very specific imaginary green room snacks. However, instead, let us open our green room to the one, the only, as far as I know, the wonderful, I definitely know, Narelle Lemon. Narelle, thanks for coming in.
Hello, Narelle.
Hello. Lovely to be here.
Oh, it's great to see you.
It is great to see you. I'm very lucky. I have seen you around because I get to work with the School of Social Sciences, Media, Film and Education, where you have been the Associate Dean of Education recently. And for anyone else who has not yet met Narelle, Narelle is a researcher, educator, writer, prolific author and self-care advocate. It is actually worth looking for her podcast, particularly around self-care. I unfortunately don't have the title off the top of my head, but I have listened to an episode or two, and it's definitely worthwhile. And most of all, she is amazing, which I did already cover. No harm saying it again. Thank you,
couldn't agree more.
Narelle. And what we don't have listed here is your fabulous new LTU role.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yes, indeed. And I don't even know exactly what I'm doing in LTU at the moment because it's all shifting and I've only been there for just over a week. So we'll just have to say the fabulous title is still being decided.
We can Photoshop it in.
We can. Insert this title.
Well, welcome to the SPSN podcast, Narelle. We are so thrilled to have you here and grateful that you've taken the time to chat with us today. But please let me indulge just for a moment while I fangirl here. Hardly anyone knows this, but Narelle has been such an incredible inspiration and support of the podcast professionals and has provided us with so much encouragement. And we're so happy to have you on the pod. How cool is that? But do you remember, Ash, when we were invited to be part of the podcasting conference, Narelle, that you ran back in 2020? When we just started podcasting and we was like, we don't know what we're doing.
I have been nervous, and that was one of the most nerve-wracking times. And it was in sort of in between or around, lockdowns or work from home recommendations. My beautiful son tried to cameo. Kristy took on the presentation like a professional. He did.
Love him.
It was amazing. The first time, Kristy, I don't know if it's your first time. It was definitely my first time presenting at a conference.
Yeah, at an academic conference.
Yeah,
that's hilarious.
You were both amazing, and it was so wonderful to have you as a part of the program. Gosh, that feels like yesterday, but it's a couple of years now.
It's gone so fast. Yeah,
time flies.
It sure does. Okay, so let's get back on track here, guys. To kick things off, Narelle, can you please give us a brief overview of your role at Swinburne, how long you've been here at Swinburne, and additionally, we'd love to hear about any current projects or initiatives that you're working on.
Yeah, sure. So I joined Swinny in February 2017, and I came across from La Trobe and previously had been at RMIT. And I've been the Associate Dean Education for the School of Social Sciences, Media and Film of Education for the last couple of years, loving working with so many talented colleagues in diverse disciplines. A total daily inspiration, which is just amazing, and not many positions you can say that with. So very much an honour and privilege to work with the school. And I was briefed with the task to help the Triple E, which is the Education Experience and Employability team, with strategic programs and really linking into Horizon 2025 as well, as we've been implementing it. And I guess I'm most famous for the pedagogy of belonging in our school. And this is where we've really positioned relationships, engagement and communication as crucial to who we are with each other as colleagues, but also how we are with our students as well. And I guess my research is across a portfolio approach, as they call it. I'm trained as an interdisciplinary scholar across arts, education and positive psychology. So I come at things with a different angle here and there, but I primarily do all sorts of things in wellbeing and self-care for students, for teachers, and that includes us in higher education, and also the wider community. And I also have a really strong scholarship in learning and teaching practice with a focus on integrating social media for networking and building professional knowledge. So a few things going on there. And I'm currently on secondment to the Learning Transformation Unit until the end of the year, helping out with various different new visions and strategic planning. And I literally am just about to head off on my second study tour for the year. Borders are open, so all those new Colombo Plan or NZP funding that we earned in 2020, and they've been on hold, they're all opened up now. So I have the privilege of taking 28 students from film, education and arts with my colleague Max. We're flying out in just under 2 weeks for a couple of weeks, and we'll be working with the Brooks Trust in Kaching, Sarawak. We're creating a whole heap of different documentaries and films about crucial areas such as conservation and women leadership and spice culture and all things cool to give back to the community. So I'm pretty excited about this project. We've been hatching it for a couple of years, and it's literally about to happen. So very, very excited.
That is so cool.
And that's a big group.
It is a big group.
That is a nice big group for a study tour of 28 students. That certainly is.
And I followed you on your first study tour earlier in the year, and that was amazing as well. It just looked like a great time. Everyone had a terrific time.
Yeah, it was pretty special. It's one of those rare occasions as academics that you get really up and close with the students personally and professionally, and it very much is a gift to watch that growth and to work with each of our individual students and to with them collectively as they set those goals and challenge themselves. So there's nothing like international travel that sparks all sorts of opportunities.
That's amazing. And a lot of, not necessarily a lot, there are, I do not know the proportion, students that go on these study tours, and, plenty of students and young people that also, they haven't really travelled far from home without a family member sometimes, certainly not internationally, or some that might have lived out of home for years, but some that never, ever have travelled without their parents directly. And
That's
so
exactly right, Ash.
sounds challenging, but I think from what you've said and what I understand, I imagine a lot of them come back with more than they could have bargained for, which is what you want out of a study tour. But
Oh,
Yeah.
totally. It's a life-changing event for all of us. And that includes me. It's this my fourth one that I'm about to lead. And every single time I am impacted in positive ways. So it's such a privilege.
Amazing. And how long are you? Oh, sorry, you go.
I was just going to say, you're going to have 28 brand new best friends in.
Oh yeah, totally.
You know.
And they all will have. We sort of come out. I always say we come out at the end, and we're like family. We know the ins and outs of each other. We support each other in the highs and the lows, and such long-term friendships are formed. Like the first study tour I did with Swinburne was in 2019. Those students have now graduated. I'm still in contact with them. They still reach out and tell me what's happening in their new jobs when they move into state, when they're engaged. We had 2 get engaged just recently. It's just, it really is such a privilege and an honor to support students on a study tour, and that it really is truly a gift in terms of those relationships that are formed with each other, but a unique gift as an academic with students, and we're working with adults, so it's pretty special to be able to do this.
Well, hope you have a really safe trip and enjoy it, and look forward to hearing all about it when you get back. All right, Ash, next question, please.
So I think we did jump into the middle of our questions in a way.
That's all right.
Yeah, I like doing that. You do not need to tell me twice to go on a tangent. In fact, you need to tell me several times to get off a tangent. So,
all right. Off you go, Ash. Next question.
So, next question. As someone who has delved into the world of publishing, we're wondering if you've got anything upcoming, book plans or projects or something in this space coming up.
Nice, juicy question. So I can't go past my book series that I have with Routledge, which is called Wellbeing and Self-Care in Higher Education, Embracing Positive Solutions. So it's out in the world, and we have just had book 5 and 6 come out into the world in the series, which is incredible. And we have 13 that are under contract and at various different stages of being under reviewed, written, and heading into proof stages. We were looking at proof this morning for another book. So it's pretty awesome. Pretty awesome.
That's amazing, Narelle. That's a lot of books.
I know. And it's great because being the series editor, I don't edit all of them. Some of them I have to get the series going, but a lot now are coming through that are being edited or written by colleagues all over the world, which is really exciting. Wow. And I think one of the big things about the vision of the book series was to really put wellbeing and self-care in the context of higher education, at the forefront of what we're doing, and to really showcase voices and to move away from secret conversations or shame about wellbeing, which often can sit there. And we really want to highlight, that wellbeing and self-care are part of everything that we do. So we're wanting to shift the sector here from those tokenistic or ignoring ways that can occur in some of our institutions. And we're really looking at a systems way of working. So we're thinking I, we, and us, that relationship between the context and how we're influential in the everyday. And so this series really showcases proactive actions. So we state a problem or a situation, and then the authors really think through and share, how did I explore it? How do I shift it? Or how am I shifting it? And share strategies. So the big thing is that we have so many different voices from so many different stages, career stages, that we're hearing voices that we may never have access to. But what it is that it may resonate with us as well. So we don't feel so isolated, and we're starting to shift things and go, oh, this is an idea I hadn't thought about. So it's really sort of thinking about, self-care from proactive actions, the self-love, the self-awareness, self-compassion, really helping each other within the sector, influencing policy, influencing what's happening in different countries, and what that might look like. So it's another one of those honours to have this idea and pull it together, and Routledge investing in this, and really starting to see the books go out into the world and have a really
you must be so
impact.
proud of that. That's incredible. And who is Routledge? Are they the publisher?
Yeah, so Routledge is the publisher. So they're a publishing arm under Taylor and Francis, come out of London. So they're kind of known as one of the top tier publishers. Yeah, okay. So it's really nice to be a part.
Phenomenal. And such a massive need in the sector, and this is something that I loosely observe from a distance, but I think it's fair to say how much every sort of profession and whatnot has changed, but the pressure and increasing pressure and rate of change for academia is something that really is always happening and always increasing, and never well, maybe not never, but it's so quote unquote accepted or swept under the rug in terms of how many extra hours you have to do and what you just, that's just part of the job in terms of your there seems to be unsaid expectations of wrangling increasing output without more time or resources to do it. And just the answer is really not being talked about. So it's really amazing. Any avenue. Also, there are obviously many professions like that, but it's fantastic to see that sort of happening. And higher ed, full stop, obviously. That is, academics are one very crucial part of higher ed, but by no means the only. And it is something that we're all grappling with and working with and adapting to with these changes, and also the workforce grappling with changes and expectations of employers and employees and branching into that space.
It's so nice to be reminded though, isn't it, Ash and Narelle? Like you're writing about this and researching about this, but it's so nice that actually somebody's taking the time to do this, because you're right, Ash, we just get stuck into our work and I'll just work an extra couple of hours, I'll do it on the weekend or after work, and you know, you kind of forget that you're putting in lots and lots of hours and forgetting to kind of just stop, okay, and for some self-care and looking after yourself and family.
But even
whoever
practically
else
navigating stopping when your results are due in, your co-author is waiting on your part of a publication coming up, and you're putting in an application that you absolutely have to be on for funding. Like the how often unmovable, unnegotiable deadlines come up more and more, and shorter timelines of notification of opportunities, and having to get them and navigate that is lots of reasons. One of many, many reasons why that is not a career path that I'm wrangling, because it just, from the outside looking at it, it really just seems that conundrum never ends. So having something that's resources for hopefully at least working through it and hearing people's experiences. The fact that Rutledge is onto it also speaks volumes. Literally.
Oh yeah.
That pun was not planned.
Love
it. It really wasn't.
Ash, you are the best. So did you say you have another 13 books lined up?
13 altogether, so another seven coming out in the next sort of 2 years. So,
that's great.
Yeah, it's really exciting.
Congratulations. All right. Let's move on to a passion that's close to my heart, podcasting, please, Narelle. So we're interested in learning more about some of the podcasts you're a part of, past and present, and what topics you typically cover, although we can take a guess.
Oh, yes, I do. You might be able to take a guess. And, as it is with you, Kristy, close to my heart as well, podcasting. And I think this was my pandemic creative endeavour. So pre-2020, I loved listening to podcasts, but I certainly had no idea how to create one, where to start, what to do, microphones, technical editing, all those different things. So I've just fallen in love with it, and particularly the intimacy and the connection, and then insights that you can gain from each other. And I know we've geeked on for many hours over the last couple of years about podcasting, which has been so fabulous. So there's a couple of podcasts that I'm involved in. My most popular one is Teachers Supporting Teachers, and I started that in 2020, a couple of weeks into the pandemic, when I was teaching 4th year education students. They were about to graduate, go out into schools, and they were really missing that contact with principals and teachers in the classroom. So I started what I thought was going to be a small little series and talked to friends who are principals about, how do you prepare yourself for interviews and all that sort of thing. So podcast is still going, 65 episodes later.
Oh, no way.
I know, way.
That's a lot, isn't it? How regularly do you do those ones? Is that weekly? No, monthly.
No, it comes and goes. I kind of do it in blocks. I kind of do in blocks of series. So we're preparing series 8 now. Series 7 I did in January with the students I took on a study tour, and so we captured, first day of what it was like in the classroom, in the leisure, and different things. So I kind of do different themes for each series. And I had to have a look it up after you were sharing your stats for your podcast. I was like, oh, what are the stats? And so there's 9,612 downloads for Teachers Supporting Teachers. So, and apparently we're very popular in North America. So that's pretty cool.
Fantastic.
That is ace. That is so ace. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Does it make you feel make your heart just kind of swell? Oh, totally. Yeah. Oh, that is great.
It's amazing to think who's out there listening, and it's got started for Swinburne students who are now graduated, and where Swinburne students come on, and other people in the world. So it's pretty cool that as with your podcast as well, all sorts of people listen to it outside of our world of Swinny. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah,
amazing. But you also, sorry, I had to look up what I had listened to. So you've also been interviewed on a few podcasts, but I think the Wellbeing Toolkit is the one that I had listened to, because I think our team had helped in the packs. We were sending out some things around the Wellbeing Toolkit and just reading some of the stuff you'd put together, and I think you had done some interviews about that. But again, supporting teachers in a also changing, challenging sector with what teachers at every level of education go through and are going through during and now post lockdown. But that toolkit, again, seeing it from the periphery, was really amazing and really so needed. But having that well-being support for educators.
Yeah, totally. And we've got what we call the Whisper Collective podcast, which is a project that with my colleagues, the Thesis Whisperer, who's Inga Newburn at ANU, and Research Whisperer, who's Chin Koo at La Trobe, and Jonathan O'Donnell at Melbourne Uni, and myself, who's Wellbeing Whisperer. So we've come together as a Whisper Collective, and so we share out various content on higher education, particularly thinking about the kind of academy we want to see, which is inclusive, empowered, engaged, and kind. So we share a lot of resources out to help researchers, writers, scholars at all different levels to get access to information and other people within the sector that perhaps they might not usually have access to. So that's pretty cool. And Inga and I, because we love podcasting with her twin sister and a few other friends, we've done various different lockdown projects with podcasting. So we did, we analysed the Netflix TV show The Chair.
Yeah,
and
I listened to that series.
Yeah, which was lots of fun. So geeking on a Saturday, we were recording, and Inga and her sister Anita are just doing one now on Severance, and I've been on a couple of episodes. So that's about to come out. So a bit of fun with that. And then Kristy, you came on as a guest with me for a podcast. We did 9 episodes for Action for Happiness, the Haptivist podcast, and you graciously came on to that podcast and recorded, I think you were episode 2 really early on.
Yeah, it was great.
Yeah.
Super interesting. And that's part of the Happiness Australia. That's correct. Yeah. So
Action for Happiness Australia
Action for Happiness. So that was great. We got to talk about all good, fun, positive stuff and changing doors. What's it called? No, sliding doors. Yeah, sliding door moments. So that was a really interesting. I loved being on that podcast. Thank you for having me. But it was really good. So now it's nice to have you on my podcast.
Indeed.
My God, we've even talked about doing one together. It's just hard to fit in the time, and something that look, there's just, the thing is with podcasts, it's just not limited. You're just not limited to absolutely anything. So it's really, really cool.
Yeah.
Hey, we understand that your role involves a fair amount of travel that you've just talked about. But we're curious about what a typical day of work looks like for you, Narelle. Can you walk us through what your daily routine is?
It's a nice question. I have to say each day looks pretty different. And my diary usually runs 3 to 4 weeks ahead of time. So my strength of organization comes into play. And I have one of those color-coded diaries for all types of activities and tracking and where things are going. Yeah. So it's I can't survive without it, because it's that quick glance while you're on the rush or in the, okay, I know I've got to transition today. What time was that again? And what does that look like? So, but I suppose, for me, routines and a daily routine is I always start my day with exercise and a meditation. So it really grounds me. I then follow it with a green tea. I will turn into a green tea bud, a leaf or something in my second life, I think. So I even have a hashtag called green tea refills required on Instagram, because as many of you would know who follow along on Instagram, and quite a lot of the green teas feature in as a part of my self-care and my mindfulness.
I now know why we have them in the imaginary green room.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And green tea often accompanies my writing as well. So writing is a part of my job, and it's a part of the job that I really, really love, and it brings me so much joy. So with a role that is primarily sitting around meetings and working with others and facilitating teams of people to come together, it's really easy to go a couple of weeks where you're like, wow, I haven't done any writing, I haven't met my research KPIs, my goals. So I've developed had this practice for quite a number of years, probably 15 years now, where I write in the morning. It's the first thing I kind of do in terms of work activities, and that usually sits with green tea as well. So if I'm on campus, it's common that I'll be at the cafe across the road that opens at 7:30 a.m, doing at least an hour and a half before that first meeting of the day. So it's kind of a little moment of joy in amongst so many back-to-back meetings, where at times you kind of feel a bit overwhelmed, because it's like, how do I do the work that came out of that meeting, and then I've got to go to another one, and did we really need that meeting? But but I sort of digress. So it's kind of that joy at the start of the day. In terms of routines, I always lock in a lunchtime, and that's a must break. I'm not a fan of having meetings at lunchtime, or people squeezing meetings in at lunchtime, presuming you're going to eat at your desk or not eat at all. I think that's not great for how we care for each other and for ourselves and fuel the body. And I always end the day setting myself up for the next day. So there's nothing sort of left hanging. It's either been booked into the diary for the next day or for future, so I know I can do it. So I'm always sort of booking myself for little pockets between sections to make sure I can do the work. And at the end of the day, the laptop goes down and my personal life kicks in. And that's a really conscious decision to do that, to care for myself and for my relationships and for my loved ones.
Yeah, of course, absolutely. It's incredibly important. Otherwise, you're kind of doing a bit of this on the side and, checking, scrolling. And but yeah, if you don't just have that shut down, turn off. And I've stopped taking my laptop home. So I leave it at the office now. And do the same thing, pack up, tidy up, make a big fat list, and then, or update the diary. It's really important, isn't it, Ash? What do you do, Ash?
I have a bit of a different schedule at the moment, just because of my son. So, however, so I have, for anyone who doesn't know, I have a 5-year-old son, and it actually, in some ways, can make it a bit easier for me to have that compartmentalization in terms of our routine, because he's transitioned to school really well, and he's at an age where if I am with him and focused on him or not, and just really clear about that helps his learning and his routines as well. And it makes it really easy for me to actually be focusing on one thing at a time and sort of set our times that way as well. So I think that I find helpful. It's in a weird way, and that is not to say that I run my entire life by my 5-year-old schedule. It's just it's a really easy reminder. And because then it's also something that you really need to, or I find I really need to, and I do think a lot of people would agree, make sure that I have that space to recharge. Or there's also things that this is not your time from me, this is your time with yourself, and I am having my time, whether it's doing this task or it's actually your time is relaxing, playing toys in your room right now. My time is relaxing, reading a book right now, and just having that. It's a way that I've found really sort of cheating to set a nice routine, a good solid routine.
Yeah, well, no, it's super important for everybody to make sure that there are those boundaries as well, on-off moments.
Absolutely. I think being
Ash,
campus helps as well. Sorry, that's the other great thing about
I agree.
Working.
And I'm finding I'm using my home office less and less now. So I'm actually working in this office more now, which I kind of like. Get back into that routine, catch the train, see my work friends. Alrighty, Ash, next question, please, for Narelle. Can you see it there?
So, yes, I can. I'm skipping again because I keep tangenting. So now I'm skipping. So, but this is one that we know is really dear to your heart, Narelle, and as our VIP guests, we ask our VIP guests what they think of our Swinburne Professional Staff Network theme for 2023, which is, of course, belonging. So, and obviously with, as you mentioned before, the pedagogy of belonging and all the work that you do and how important that is. The question really is, what do you think about this theme, but how it resonates with your work?
I love this focus so much. And I just want to say thank you for the courage to dig deep into it, and to acknowledge it for you and your colleagues as well. Because I think care, self-care, compassion, kindness, gratitude, and belonging, I value, and I really value more and more as I progress throughout my career, but also the more time I spend in higher education. And I think that both of you and many of our colleagues would say that as well. And I think, the pandemic's been a gift we needed to help in regards to rethinking or thinking for many people as well, through who we are to ourselves and each other, and what does belonging mean and what can it be. And when you don't belong, it's confronting in every way. And I don't think we do it very well in higher education for our colleagues, professional and academic, and for our students. I think there are pockets of good, but I think generally as a sector, we need to do better at belonging. And I'm not sure if it's the privilege of my leadership role or the area I'm often talking about, which is wellbeing and self-care, or maybe it's just me, but more often than not, more than one conversation a day in the sector revolves around someone telling me they don't feel like they belong, that they don't feel like they're heard, that they don't feel like they're valued, that they don't feel like they're listened to, appreciated, or noticed. And that's really, really heartbreaking. So when we think about, I know, right, it really hits you. And that's been like that for quite a number of years, but I think the pandemic has escalated it. I think we're talking more about it. I think, you know, belonging is connected to our identity, meaning making, and relevance in our world and our life satisfaction. So we need belonging. It's significant to bolster our well-being, and we rely on others, our family, our friends, our social group, our workplace and communities. And we all want to have a positive experience. But belonging, however, does not just rely on a number of groups or people around you. You know, it's heavily connected to our perception and evaluation of ourselves as well, and the belief of, can we belong or do we belong? Is it possible to belong? So belonging is just something that we're continually seeking to find, we need to maintain, but it's fluid and it's changeable across context, time, and under different connections. And, you know, as it changes, it can occur in different ways and different paces, influenced by different things and values and stress and events. And you can belong one day and not feel like you belong another day. So it's just so complex. So the fact that you have the courage to be talking about it and focusing on it is just brilliant. And I really do commend you for the courage to do this.
Thank you. And shout out to Nicola Howard, who came up with that theme for the SPSN for 2023. But everything that you said there, Narelle, in my mind is like going around and around. It's like, yes, that resonates with me. That, oh my God, yes. There were so many yes moments just then when you were talking. How about you, Ash?
All of it. And the changing nature of belonging, that how we belong and how we want to belong and what belonging means to us does change with all aspects of our life, including our professional life. And having it so important and prioritized in the workplace, it's almost amazing that it hasn't been for forever, based on we prioritize it and have done for so long in the context of families and kids and family units and belonging to a family unit. And those conversations are old. These are not new things. And then add that sort of to, you know, in terms of having a family or a community or a village, these are old concepts and sayings that really it almost is so logical that they span across every aspect of our lives and help us thrive personally and professionally. And the more it is these themes and resonating with every single thing you said, which presumably, I'm sorry about that barking in the background.
Is that the dog?
That was
I could hear that. I was like, what's going on?
Hux also strongly agrees with belonging. She is a husky cross golden retriever. She's very, very sassy, and she believes that her belonging is telling her bigger, also husky cross, but his husky cross, who knows what, brother, exactly how to play and how playing is wrong. So that's her version of belonging. It is important in the workplace, and it is important in the dog place, apparently.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad, Narelle, you now belong to us, and I do have Pat Benatar going on in my head at the moment as well, but you now belong to the podcast professionals with Kristy and Ash forever and ever. Amen.
I too have joined you with the song going on in my head. So
yeah, don't worry, that's the new outro music. But finally, before we wrap up our awesome chat with Narelle Lemon here today, we have one last question for you. Have you booked your next holiday? And if so, where are you heading? We'd love to hear about your travel plans.
I have. We are going to the United States of America in July. We're going to Portland, Seattle, and LA, which is hello, America. I've missed you so much since the pandemic. So I'm really looking forward to art, walking the streets, discovering new things, microbreweries, great food, and great people.
Oh, fantastic. That is so good. And the weather will be fantastic. It'll be right in the middle of summer.
Yes.
So,
shorts and t-shirt and runners. Oh, here we come.
Yes. Oh, that's amazing.
Well, I'd like to say thank you very much for joining us today and being part of the podcast professionals. And we appreciate you taking the time to chat with us. And we wish you well on all your travels.
Why, thank you. And thanks so much for having me. It's been so much fun.
Thanks so much for taking the time, Narelle.
All right, let's just do the outro, Ash, and then we're done.
Yeah. It would be great if I could get one of the dogs to do the rating, but he doesn't do it on command.
All right.
Well, that just about wraps up another episode, and I have to say, you two nailed this episode. Let's keep with the tradition. Ash, please give us a score out of 10. We're waiting.
I think I keep upping the score. So because I'm not sure what I've upped it to, I'm just going to go for 15 out of 10. Narelle was an amazing guest. I actually do. And full disclosure, listeners, Narelle is still in the podcasting booth with us as we do the outtakes. So this is true, but also it may sound a little awkward. However, every time I actually sit down and chat to Narelle, I just feel like there is so much more conversation I'd like to have. So.
Agree. I couldn't agree more. But we need to get her out of this booth because she is totally filling her pockets with all those M&Ms and those green tea bags. So that's all from us. Thank you so much for listening. And until next time, take it easy.
Bye.